Hello and welcome to the Mind Detox podcast. I'm your host, Sandy Newbigging. I'm a trauma-aware therapeutic coach and meditation teacher known for unifying therapy and spirituality, and I'm the author of 12 books, including New Beginnings, Mind Calm, and Mind Detox. I've also been teaching my insights and techniques via my award-winning academy for almost 2 decades. For this podcast, I usually share extracts from my Calm Clan community webinars. I'm also sometimes joined by guest experts for the occasional chit-chat. All so you can heal the hidden causes of anything problematic going on in your life, and so you can access more peace and enjoy the best life possible. I've been a monk and had to get myself out of a spiritual cult. I have a busy clinic with lots of fascinating clients, stories and takeaways. I'm usually creating a course or writing a new book, and I'm on my own journey of healing and knowing myself. So thank you for joining me for this episode. You never quite know what you're going to get, but I hope you get a lot from listening. And without further ado, let's begin. Well, hello and welcome. Welcome to this Calm Clan chit chat with the always wonderful and profound and interesting me. No, I'm just joking. Richard Abbot. Richard Abbot. But before I get into chatting with Richard, I just want to share that inside the Calm Clan, we are all about calm, or about calmology, meditation, therapy, mindset and all that sort of stuff. Curing the cause and increasing peace is one of the main slogans that I use for this place and what we do here. And I like to mix it up a little bit and have lots of different topics throughout the year and with different guests here and there as well. And a long-term guest, multiple guest, returning for his 4th or 5th time, I think, to the Calm Clan, is Richard Abbot. Richard Abbot is an expert astrologer,
if you like.
numerologist,
Yeah.
tarot.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want to add to that?
Well, all things spiritual and mystical and magical, really, I suppose.
Exactly. But with a modern day twist, which is what I love about it. Your head is in the clouds, but also your feet are on the ground. And I think that is such a unique gift and a unique thing to have and to aspire to. And so, Richard, you've agreed to come and talk to us today about numerology. The rough agenda for today is, what is it? Why do we want to know it? Then you're going to teach us the exact protocol you use. So hopefully you guys have got a notepad and pen handy, or somewhere you can, a calculator or something. Have it handy, guys. This is your heads up now. Make sure you've got it, because Richard's going to teach you his exact way, which is not the normal way, I believe. It's the exact way he's been doing it for many years to find out what your personal number is. Numbers, potentially sometimes? Number today, okay. And then at the end, we're going to, or after that, Richard's going to do his best, which I know it's a big task, but to give us an overview of the key numbers, the primary numbers, the numbers that you might end up with. Okay, so that is the plan for today. So Richard, thank you very much for joining us again.
Nice to be here, my old friend. Thank you very much.
Why do we want to know about numerology?
Well, we don't have to know about numerology if you don't want to. But I think you do have to know a method, a system, a technique for knowing what you are really all about and keeping your feet on the ground. So the head in the clouds, feet on the ground thing is quite important, because the head in the clouds thing is, we all want to do that, but we've got to have the feet on the ground as well. We might not want to, but we have to, really. So I think you need a method that is not just your feelings about something. It's not just a sense of, oh, I'm like this, I think I'm like that, my character is this, my character is that. No, no, no. We need a system that's going to give us something a bit more objective. Now, some people go to astrology, some people go to Myers-Briggs. There are many graphology, human design. There's lots of things which enable you to know yourself better and thus keep your feet on the ground. Because if you know yourself, you will mostly always know what to do when there is a problem or a challenge. If you don't know yourself, then when there's a big, what do I do in this situation? You're all at sea. You don't really know what you because you don't really know what's good for you. So if you know yourself, you know what to do. Can we know ourselves completely 100%, 100% of the time? Maybe not. It's a journey of discovery, but we need a method that's going to be able to help us to do this. The simplest method, the most easy to understand method, the most fundamental method, I think the best method, but you don't have to go for that if you want, but the simplest one is numerology. Numerology, the study of the meaning of numbers, the meaning of your name and your date of birth.
How can knowing your numbers help you know in any given moment what's good for you? You said what's good for you. I think you said. What is that? What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So numbers are a symbol. A number is a symbol that represents an energy, if we would put it that way. Like in astrology, a planet and a sign is a symbol that represents an energy. Number is a symbol that represents an energy. Um, the number that you find from your date of birth, which we'll work through, is a number which belongs to you. It's not just a random number that you pick out of a bag. It's a number that particularly belongs to you. Therefore, it's an energy that particularly belongs to you. Now, whether you want to put it here, or lower down, or wherever you want to put it, it's that energy, that number is in you somehow. It's wanting to be heard. It's wanting to be fed and nourished and satisfied.
The
So
number wants to be heard, fed
the
and
number
satisfied.
wants to be heard because the energy wants to be heard. The number is just a representation of the number is just a title of the energy. The energy is the thing that wants to be heard. So the idea is that if we hear it and we give it what it wants, then it will behave well for us and it will do all good things for us. It won't cause us trouble. If we don't give it what it wants, if we don't nourish it, if we don't hear it, it plays havoc with us.
So are you saying that we all have an energy within us that we almost like are naturally, it's innate, we're almost uh, it is our energy in a way. And if we're aligned with that energy, if we're making decisions and actions aligned with that energy, that's what's helpful. Is that part of what you're saying?
Yes, that's exactly it. Although it's actually multiple energies and it's multiple numbers, but we're only going to do one number today, the number which is at the center of the wheel, and all the other numbers, all the other energies spin around it. So yeah,
Okay.
we have inside each of us multiple energies that are, in a way, they are us, but in a way, they're not us. But either way, if we get on side with them, good results. If we don't get on side with them, bad results
Okay.
or no results.
So very briefly, just so before we get into this, so people can know your authority on this, can you give a potted history or quick overview of why are you here able to talk to us about numbers? Do you teach it elsewhere? Have you done it? How long have you been doing it for, et cetera, et cetera?
Um, I will be 53 this year in a month's time, later this month, actually.
Well, you're going to have to share us your
Um,
skin secrets.
yeah, right. I'm on soft focus, mate. Um, so that will make it 36 years of me properly doing numerology. Now, obviously, at 17 years old, I wasn't doing numerology consultations and being paid for them or anything like that. But I discovered it at 16. I was shown it at 16. I have been using it since I was 17 properly. Um, so that's 36 years. Professionally since 2000. Written some books on it here and there, given some talks on it here and there in some different countries around the world. Got a few clients here and there.
Few
I'm
clients.
Some clients might be well known. Well, is that a big deal? Um, it's it's not me. I'm just here talking about it. Numbers existed before me and they'll exist after me. And they've been studied before me and they'll be studied after me. Not as maths, not as 2 + 2 = 4, 2 eggs and 2 eggs equals 4 eggs. Not that, but 4 eggs means something. It means something. There's an energy to it. And that's why I've spent my adult life investigating, practicing, teaching,
Okay.
consulting.
Awesome.
I'm the
I,
only
I know that
one.
you squirm a bit when I ask you to talk about yourself, but I think it's important uh, when we're engaging on this, embarking on this, to know that it's coming from 36 years of experience, investigation, research, practical application. So, and I think that's what makes you, special, and that's why I want to talk to you about it. Not just any numerologist, but you. So let's get into it. Do you feel we've given enough of a why do you want to do numerology introduction? Is there anything else you want to add before we get into figuring out our own number?
We need a way to know what is really going on with us, and it's got to be something from outside of us. I think it can't just be, oh well, if I think about my life, I was good at that and not good at that, because we're biased. We've got to have something. So what's the something going to be? Myers-Briggs, people like that, when you're INQF or whatever it is, human design, I Ching, astrology, there's loads of us. The easiest one is numerology. That's
Okay.
why that's why we want to. It's the easiest one to get into. It's the easiest one to understand. It's a tiny little bit of maths, but not much. And then really the doors are open and you're away.
Okay. Well, then let's do it. Let's do it. So, do you want to teach us your specific way of figuring out our number and
Yeah,
guide us through it?
it's not difficult.
Okay.
It's not difficult. Some of you may be familiar with it. If you're not, then it just takes just a tiny little bit of extra concentration to make sure that you've got the process nailed down properly. But it's dead easy, really. No mathematics required, not really. A calculator's handy, but you know. So you take your date of birth. You take your date of birth, the day that you were born, the month that you were born, and the year, including the 19, because you were all born in 19 something, I guess. So, and then you're in numbers with that, and you add those numbers together. But hold on, you add the whole of the day plus the whole of the year plus the whole of the month, sorry, plus the whole of the year, and it will give you a four-figure answer. Now, if I don't know whether this will display because will this be backwards? Is this the right way around or is this backwards? Can
It's
you see
correct
it?
way.
Hooray! Right. So we're in high tech mode here. I've been writing on paper. So I was born on the 28th of October 1972. As I say, I know I look older, but it's been a hard life. So what I'm doing is I'm going 28 and 10 and 1972, and I'm adding it like this. All right, so if you're going to use a calculator, do it in a calculator like this. The day plus the month plus the year gives you a four-figure answer. Now, I will shut up while you get that four-figure answer. I'll give you 60 seconds to get that, everybody. Shout, stick your hand up if it's not clear what I'm saying. We want a four-figure answer.
Those in the UK will remember the countdown clock. So I always feel that plays in the background whenever you give a certain amount of time to do something.
What the
Dum 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 dum
we
dum.
ought to have that on a ready to go,
I should
shouldn't
have
we?
had it ready. So while you're doing it, let me calculate it with myself. So I'm 5979, 1979. So that's
Yeah.
5 plus 9 plus 1979, which equals 1993. So have I
Yeah.
done that correctly?
You have done that correctly. So we
Okay.
want a four-figure answer, right? We do not what we don't want to do. This is the difference, perhaps, from what you would see popularly online. What you don't want to do is you don't want to just add up the whole thing straight across. So this is 28 and 10 and 1972. You don't want to just go 2 and 8, add 1, add 0, add 1, add 9, add 7, add 2, give you a two-figure answer. You don't want to do it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that.
Okay.
You don't want to do it like that. You want to do it like this.
All right.
Your
And so you
calculator or
basically
your phone.
on your screen you've got 28 plus 10 plus 1972 equaling 2010. That's what, just in
Yeah.
case
And
this is
that's
an audio
me.
later. Just in
And
case
that's
this is a
me.
podcast.
And that's you, Sandy, there.
Oh, you did it for me. Thank you.
Indeed, indeed. Obviously, folks at home, it's your date of birth that you're adding up,
Yeah.
right? The day of your birth plus the month of your birth plus the year of your birth gives you a four-figure answer. That's the step one to get the
Okay.
four-figure.
I think we've done it. I think we've got step one.
Okay, so then in the four-figure answer, you take the digits of that four-figure answer. So I had 2010, and I just add up those digits straight along, and I get then either a single digit straight away or possibly a two-digit answer. Depends on your date of birth. So add the four digits, whatever they are. It'll probably give you a two-figure answer, maybe a single figure. If it's a single figure, you're done. Stop. Right? If it's a two-figure answer, that is 11 or 22, you're done. Stop. If it's any other two-figure answer, add those two figures together until you get a single figure. Right? So the only answer that you can land up with in the end, and then you're done, is 1 to 9, or 11, or 22.
Amazingly explained.
Right? So that's it. That's it. Simple. Now, if advanced numerology is, we do other calculations, we do other things with the date of birth, we turn the name into numbers, da da da. But that's more advanced stuff.
Maybe next year you can come back and teach us that one.
Well, yes, maybe. I mean, there's a lot that you can do with that, so you can go very more complicated if you want to. But this is
And you
the
teach courses on that, right?
I do teach choices on that. Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do. Yes, I do.
Just
Yes.
so people know. Because I know there's at least one person on this line today that definitely wants to go deeper into numerology, and you might be an option. So,
Okay. Well,
okay.
sure. So shout me. I'm happy to answer questions on that, whoever that is. So
Okay.
that's fine. Happy to do that. So so if your answer that you get is say 10, for example, all right. Well, that we're not done at 10. 10 is actually becomes 1. So because 1 plus 0 is 1. So 10 becomes 1. But 11 stays as 11. You stick at 11. And 22, you stick at 22. You don't reduce that anymore. You just have those two-figure answers as special cases. They are known as master numbers, which are high energy, high
Ooh,
vibration.
well, that
Yes,
is
you're.
exciting. So
Mm.
I got a 22.
Yeah. So
I feel like I
so
won the bingo or something.
well, indeed, yes. So this is sometimes called the destiny number, sometimes called the life path number.
Are you talking about 22 right now? Sorry. Are you talking about 22 right now?
Whatever anybody has got,
Okay.
the answer, whatever anybody's answer is here. So me, it's 3. You,
Mhm.
Sandy, it's 22. It's the destiny number. It's the life path number. Call it the personal number if you want, but I will call it the destiny life path number. Okay, so it describes a bit of your personality, a bit of your character. But remember what we said a few minutes ago, it's actually about an energy that you need to satisfy. So it's something that you need to do, actually. It's telling you, it's got a message for you. This number has got a message for you. It's telling you to do something. It's asking you to do something. It's nudging you towards doing something. Maybe many things, but certainly one thing. Make sense?
Yeah, it's exciting.
All right.
So do you
Cool.
think is it time to get into
I think
what each
so.
number means, or is there more
Yeah,
of an
I
introduction
think
you're
so. I
yeah?
think so because we've got it. So remember, it's an energy. It's an energy that's trying to tell you something.
Those that are watching live, feel free to pop your number in the chat box because then I don't know, maybe Richard will see and can relate talk to you when he's talking about that number or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, do that. That would be
Um,
helpful. So we need to go from 1 to 9, and then 11, and then 22 in whatever order you want. So yeah, one more thing then before we do it, very briefly. Obviously, we have multiple numbers. We have multiple energies. Okay, so this number that we're calculating here, this energy that we're calculating here, is only one of many things that are going on with you. Everybody listening, it's only one of many things that are going on with you, but it is the most important thing, right? So it might be that when I start describing a number that you've not got, right, you'll go, "Oh, I like the sound of that. I'm quite resonating with that description, even though it's not my number." That's because probably that description I'm giving is probably one of your numbers, but hidden away in your chart somewhere.
mhm.
Right. So we're only thinking about this one number, this one calculation, which is a big part of you, but it's not all of you.
Understood. Let's do it. Number one.
Number one, right? Okay, so we could speak for 8 hours on each number. So we're massively condensing here, but the message that the number one energy is trying to give you, if you are a number one, is it's trying to tell you that independence is a good thing. It's good to go your own way and to do your own thing. It's a bit scary sometimes, maybe, but it's the way to go. The way to go, if you are a number one destiny life path, is by yourself. Not lonely or alone, but as a leader, as an innovator, as a trailblazer. So, what does that boil down to in like everyday, most people's lives? It's the number of the person who really has got to work for themselves. They've got to be their own boss. It is, there will be exceptions, but in most cases, most number ones will not be happy in employment working for somebody else. They won't be able to do it. It doesn't matter how much money they're being paid, doesn't matter what they're being promised, it will not wash for them because they have their own ideas and they will always clash with people that are trying to tell them what to do. They don't like being told what to do, number ones. They've got to go their own way, got to do their own thing. If you're in a relationship with a one person and you want that relationship to be closer, then paradoxically, what you have to do is you have to let them be. If you let a number one be, let them go, they'll come back. If you try and pull on a number one, say, come here, come closer to me, they'll run a mile because it's the one. They're by themselves.
Mhm.
Um, they can be in relationship, but they have to be in relationship and they'll have their own life too.
That's really cool because like there might be people out there that are conflicted with that. Maybe they're in a relationship that they feel this pull to be independent. They like their own space and time and etc. etc. But they've also got the society saying, no, no, every relationship should look one way. Everyone should be have a relationship exactly the same. That makes sense. So that
So,
can be really empowering for number one to recognize
yes.
that. But you're also saying you don't need to get a divorce. You're not meant to be a hermit living on your own in a cave. You need to you have people around. You can be have a marriage. You can be happy with people, but what? Just to clarify.
But you got to have your own life too.
Okay.
You've got to have your own things that you do. So, for a number one, a relationship where you are each other and everything that you do is everything that they do, and you do it all together all the time. That's not really the energy of the one. The one doesn't like that. The one is happy to be with somebody, but then it needs to go do its own thing and then come back, and then do its own thing and then come back.
I mean, Angie's on the call today. She's a one. She's laughing, saying, "Ha, that is so me." And she says, "The reason my hubby and me, my husband and me, are still together is because he allows me my freedom."
Precisely.
And it probably works quite well because her husband, I don't think this is too confidential. He's a truck driver. So he goes away for days on end and he comes back.
Perfect.
So it could work really well for them, right?
Perfect. Perfect for
She
number
gets
one.
her own one life, but then he comes back and they get to be together. And so interesting. Does that give you some reassurance, Angie? Let us know in the chat box. Number two.
Number two. Right. So, silly statement, but true. Number two is not number one. Right. What I mean by that is that everything I've just said about the number one doesn't apply to the number two. Right. So where a number one wants to go their own way and do their own thing, a two does not want to do that. A two literally wants to be safe in safe and secure with other or others. Two is a two is literally like having two sides to the coin. So what you often get with a number two is you will get somebody who is, if we might say, a little bit indecisive. But the reason that they're indecisive is because they see the situation from both angles. They see the pros and they see the cons naturally, innately. Number ones don't necessarily, but twos innately see, yeah, but no. Yeah, but no. That's the whole vibration of the two because they're sensitive to energies all around them. It's the intuitive number. It's the naturally intuitive number. Every human being has intuition as a somewhere, but twos are natural at it. They feel their way through life. It's all about feelings, and it's all about safety and stability and security. So the natural, let me say it again. The best way for a two to be in any situation is to, when they're asked a question or pressured for a decision, the two should say, well, I don't know, I'll get back to you. The two should take a moment to step back and not so much think about it, but just look at both sides of the coin and not rush into stuff. Sometimes what twos do is they know that they're a bit indecisive, which actually is a strength in certain situations. They know they're a bit indecisive, but they kind of don't like that bit about them. So they try to act all tough. Don't try. It's okay for twos to feel a bit unsure. It's allowed. It's okay. It's okay. It's a good thing actually, because they're seeing both sides of the coin, which other numbers perhaps don't see. Make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And Morag is number two here. And I've seen her with quite a few wry smiles the entire time you were sharing that. And she's laughing at this now, nodding her head. What I can also see from a two is that they must be the sort of person that can see things from the other perspective. So that if there's an argument, or if there's a dispute, they're probably able to understand both perspectives and stuff. So they're not really going to be the friend that takes sides. They're going to be the friend that goes, well, but or they will take sides, but what I'm trying to say, they'll be able to see it from both perspectives of what's going on. Does that make sense?
That's perfect description. So I'm saying, like, they see both sides of the coin. They'll see both sides of the argument. So some people say that makes the two a bit wishy-washy or a bit kind of, but it's not that. It's that they're very empathic. Empathic. They feel things very deeply. They're not normally judgmental. They're normally quite kind. But sometimes they have to draw a boundary because their better nature might get taken advantage of sometimes.
So in an ideal world, if everyone just did the job that was aligned with their number, that would be a very perfect world, wouldn't it?
Well,
Potentially. Then a two would be a good mediator, potentially.
A two would be a good mediator, but a two would also be literally a good number two. So you'd have the leader as the number one, the boss would be number one, but then behind every good boss, there's somebody like actually doing the proper stuff behind the
Hmm.
scenes, getting all the work actually done, and that's the two. Because twos are very good at detail.
Hmm. Whereas in politics, for example, the vice president is often trying to get into the president role eventually, right?
Well, you see, so there's a big problem there because what we've got what we have had in our societies is we've had a lot of twos in leadership positions. And that is like the worst possible thing you could possibly have. Tony Blair, Bill Clinton, Gordon Brown, Joe Biden, Barack Obama. Take your view on any of those people, but they're all number twos.
Hmm, interesting.
Right. So it's by it might you might say, well, how does that fit with what I've just described the number two to be? It completely fits because in each of those cases, they had either a wife or a like chief of staff who was really pulling the strings, really. So number two is not a leadership number. It's a literally a number two number. And that's
But
fine. It's
but
good.
it's amazing. They need the number one needs number two, and the number one's better with the number two. That's actually a number two. So
Exactly.
wonderful. Kate says that it took a two friend of hers 2 years to decide on a house purchase.
That sounds about right. She probably did very well to even do it in that time because I have known twos who just they get themselves into a position where they can't make any decision at all.
Okay, number three.
Number three. Okay, so I'm number three. So three is the number of the communicator, the person who has something to say. So it might be verbally, it might be artistically, it might be creatively. They might write it down in books. They might paint pictures. They might make music. They might just be kind of life and soul of the party and just chatty to everybody all the time. They might be a salesperson, radio, TV, film. That it's the number of the performer, communicator, the person out there in the world in some way, shape, or form. Now, here's the problem. Number three is one of the numbers that is very affected by how what other people say. Okay, and we're all affected by what other people say, but number threes really are. So if you criticize a number three, they don't really like it. They don't really like it, and it's not because they're egomaniacs, but because actually they take it to heart. And if you criticize number three when they're very young, when they're childhood, or at pivotal points in their life, it can have a profoundly negative effect on the number three. So what you can often get with a number three, even though really a number three should be writing a book, writing an album of music, going on the radio, going on the TV, being a movie star, whatever. That's what they really should be doing. What you sometimes get is that they will shut down. And they'll shut down because they're worried what people think about them. So the challenge for number three is to not give a damn what people think about you and to offer your creative thing to the world, regardless of whether it's liked or whether it's not liked. Easy said than done, but that is the thing. The message that the three is trying to give you is whatever creative thing you've got, you must put it out into the world, regardless of what other people think.
You're a three.
I am.
You come across as someone that doesn't seem to care that much about what people think. You seem to do things your own way and stuff like that. So how are you doing with that? Have you overcome that, would you say? Like, and if you have, how have you done it?
No, I wouldn't say I've overcome it. I'd say it's very much a work in progress. Um, it's very much a work in progress. The progress that I've made with it is that whether people like what I have to say or whether they don't on Monday means nothing because on Tuesday they might have changed their mind. Okay, so that's my experience of putting things out into the world with people going, "Oh yeah, that's brilliant. Oh no, that's terrible." That often, not always, but often it doesn't last. I mean, there's countless people I've known over the years who were when I said my piece were to the point of abusive, really. And then multiple years later, I'll get an email or a call from them saying, "Oh my God, yeah, everything you said was right. That's not what you said 10 years ago." Yeah, yeah, well, I didn't mean it. I took it on board, really. So it's like what people think, it actually, I don't wish this to sound horrible, but it actually doesn't matter what people think, really. It doesn't really matter what people think. It is, you have to, if you're a three, it's a matter of life and death. You have to speak verbally, music, creative design, whatever. You have to put your thing in the world for your own sanity. You have to do it.
Well, Christina, my wife, has said, I am a three and I always have something to say. Ha ha ha.
Very good. Pleased to hear it.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
me
and that's
too.
as it should
Sorry, I
be.
should say me too as well.
Oh, well, yes, yes, but it's as it should be. And there's something wrong. I mean, obviously, we all have moments, but there's something wrong if a number three is not saying their piece,
Yes.
saying their part. There's something wrong, and it might, as I say, it might not be verbal. It might be music. It might be creativity. It might be dressing very colourfully. Whatever method of self-expression, it doesn't matter what the method is, but whatever it is in there, it's got to come out into the world, and they won't be content or happy until they do that. Yes, there's a flip side to this. A lot of threes talk too much. A lot of threes talk a lot of rubbish. But who's to say what's rubbish? They've got to do it. They've got to speak it. Okay,
Four.
four. So I'd be very interested to know if anybody, when they're listening back to this later on, is actually a number four. I'd be very interested to know. I don't know how we would to find that out, but if anybody wants to get in touch, I'd be very interested to hear because there is almost never any fours in any of these talks or things that I do, like ever. It's for all the years I've been doing it. Certainly when I'm hosting something and I'm running it and I'm hosting it, there's never a four in the group ever. Why? Why is that? Four is the energy of the physical world, not the energy of words or music or ideas or feelings. It's the physical world. Okay, so fours tend to be builders and plumbers and working with stone and working with brick and working with glass and working with the soil. They're not, in other words, they're not interested in vibes. Vibes is not interesting for them. It's stuff, physical, tangible, material stuff is where they live. It's the world that they live in. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I've known some very competent, I do know some very competent, excellent massage therapists, sports massage therapists who are fours. And it's like their language is the body. They understand the body. They've read all the books, they've studied, but it's not enough. They know it on a deeper level. They know the body. They're in their body. Other numbers are not necessarily in the body, they're in another energy, but fours are in their physical body, and so they should be. So a four person should be living in the physical, tangible realm and doing physical, tangible things with their hands.
And so if they are listening to this, they're probably not going to be a member of our CAM clan, but they might be listening to a podcast whilst they're in their shed working on a piece of carpentry.
They might, yeah, they might. And their calm, their happy place will be with wood or stone or glass or jewels or crystals even.
Mhm.
It's all very for the physical realm, the body.
Wonderful. Number 5.
Five. Five is the rebel. Five
Hmm.
is the person who does not go along with the flow. Five is the number of the person who is wanting to travel and move and change, and they're here 1 minute and then they're the next, and they're doing this, and then they're doing that, and then they're doing the other thing. And what are you doing today? Oh, well, I'm doing this, and then ask them the next day. Oh, yeah, no, that's changed now. We're doing this now. Super intelligent, but not necessarily like academically, just like quick, bright, smart. They can learn really quickly. So the thing, if you're a number five, the thing to remember is that if you do it right, life will get better as you get older. It's not actually true for other numbers necessarily, but it definitely is for five. Life gets better as you get older. And I see it all the time. They get younger essentially as they get older in a way because their body is aging, but their spirit is youthful. The fives are very lively people. If you want a party and you want something random to occur, well, if you want some entertainment, bring a three. But if you want something random going on, bring a five. And they will be lively. They will be the ones that will say, let's shake it up and let's go do that now. They're the fives that are their live wires normally. Normally. What you must not do if you're a five, if you know any fives, try and bring them out of this world. Your stagnant predictability is not the vibe of five. If a five, each to their own, and everybody's different, but if a five is doing the same job in the same company and living in the same town and in the same relationship for years and years and years, I will find it very hard to believe that they will be happy. I find it very hard to believe that the five can be happy like that. Your perfect five is like airline cabin crew, or taxi, lorry, transport driving. When one place 1 minute, one place the next, one place the next. That some people that would drive some people crazy, but fives love all that. They love it. Travel, they love it.
How do they deal with relationships and long-term relationships?
Very good. Um, with great difficulty because it's not a permanent number. But it's sort of the impermanence of five is relationships, it's career, it's everything. Whatever they're doing, they've got to keep it fresh. They've got to keep it moving. So if a five could be in a relationship for a long, long time, if that relationship itself is constantly evolving and changing. If it's same old, they will go potty. They won't be able to handle it. So, but if it's a new relationship every day, you know what I mean, where the other person is lively and sparking and doing different things all the time, that can work. But they have to change is so important for number five. Some fives are scared of it, actually, a little bit, because it's it might be against their upbringing. Their upbringing might have been, oh, get a job, get a career, stick to it, get married, stick to it, everything will be all right. That old way of thinking, it might work for four, it won't work for a five.
Mhm. One of my numbers is 5, just one of the other numbers.
It is one of your other numbers is a five.
And Kimberly's laughing the whole time up there. I'm seeing her on top of my screen. She's resonating with a lot of it. I can see it in her. I would love to have her at a party because I think it'd be really fun. Like, and I'm not going to get personal, but I think it can help you understand the relationship stuff you've been through as well recently and things like that. And you're nodding, yeah. So this is really, really lovely to hear this stuff, and I love this work so much that you're doing, and and how it really fits with what we're doing here. Anyway, I'll do that in the ending, the closing words. That stuff I'm going to share. But also, Emma is a 5, and she's on the line today. And it's funny that she's a 5 because she's always traveling, always on the go. Plans changing. She's got 3 houses. And that
That's
works
as it
for
should
her,
be.
having these 3
Yes.
different places and traveling around every few weeks to different places and stuff. It's absolutely set up perfectly for her.
That's as it should be for the number 5. Other numbers, they wouldn't be able to cope with it. Number 5, definitely. Yes.
Wonderful. Do you hear that, Emma? It's wonderful. Wonderful. So I'm really glad that you never have to question that or live like anyone else. You've
Yep.
got the perfect setup for yourself. Wonderful. 6.
6. Okay. Gear shift. 6 is about home and family and relationships and tribe and community and all that kind of stuff. Now, this is a cliche, silly story. If you go up to a number 6 and you say, "Hello, number 6, how are you doing? How's life?" They'll probably say something like, "Yeah, my husband's doing okay. And the dog's better, and we've got a new cat, and my 2 daughters, they're doing wonderfully, and the next door neighbour, he's fine, and my mum's all right, and my grand's all right." And you go, "Whoa, hang on a minute! I asked you how you were," and they go, "Oh yeah, so you did. Yeah, I'm all right." It's they are so enmeshed with others that they think in terms of we. They don't really think in terms of I. They think in terms of we. You get some exceptions, but mostly they think in terms of we. Now, this can be very, very good. It can be challenging in some ways. It can be good because it's the energy of love. It's the energy of togetherness. It's the energy of nurturing and support. The best friend, the most supportive friend would be a 6. The most supportive person would be a 6. You're in trouble, you want a mentor, you want a coach, a 6 will because they care. They're human and they care. They're not about the theory, they're about the human tactile nature of it all. They're wonderful people, but they sometimes lose themselves because they're thinking always about the we, whatever their we is. They're thinking always about that, and it's very, very hard for them to think of themselves. So they get into situations where they are they've got a lot of responsibility for the we, but then there's kind of like nothing left for them. That can be a thing. That can be a thing in the number 6. But they're loving and they are supportive and they're generous and they care. It is a loving number, very much.
I think it's funny that you're saying that it's all about the we because Angie's husband is a 6. And I know that he's really into trains, which, which is basically traveling together on a train down the same track, which is so symbolic for a 6, right?
It
So it's
is. That's
probably his
very
perfect hobby. But also,
community.
if you're with a husband who's a 6 and he doesn't really open up and share all his feelings all the time and da da da, when then maybe that can help. Also, you understand that they're not really thinking of, it's more about the we for them, and that's why they don't tend to open up necessarily about themselves. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah, it is because they will always think of themselves in relation to others.
Mhm.
So it's very, very hard to get a 6 to tell you what they want. What do you want? They'll default. Sometimes their language will tell us, but they'll default into, yeah, well, we could do this. But I'm asking
Mhm.
about you.
Mhm.
But we,
And finally, before we move on to 7, talking of 6, Kate says both my parents were 6. Kimberly says my daughter is the sweetest 6, and I want to take this moment to go. It's cool to do this for your loved ones. So your homework would be your husband, your brother, your sister, your best friend,
yes,
whoever, your kids. is to go and figure out their numbers over the next, day or so.
100%.
Sit down, doesn't take you too long, as long as you know their date of birth. And with this, everything that Richard's sharing here, wow, it helps you to understand them more, really interact with them better, communicate in the ways they understand, etc., etc. So it's really important interpersonally to know your people's numbers that you're spending a lot of time with.
And maybe if you felt brave, show them and tell them as well. The people that you're working out. I mean, obviously it depends on who they are, but maybe because people do generally like to know.
Well, I shall be releasing this as a podcast episode to give you as much exposure as possible for the wonderful work you're doing as a thank you for hanging out with us tonight. And so, if you can share the podcast replay with anyone as well, if you're sharing the numbers with them.
And if anybody listening now or later does this for somebody else, and they say, "Well, blooming hell, that's not that person at all. That person is not that number at all." Well, I don't mind receiving an email or something about that because I bet it is, and I'd like the chance to show you how it is. But because I've had this before. I've had this one. But in fact, when I first came to this, when I first found this at 17 years old, it was shown to me by my late teacher. You're a 3, so you're a 3, Richard. So it's all about confidence and color and communication and expression. And I'm like, 17 years old. I'm like, no, 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 that wasn't me at all. I was painfully shy. Strange as that might seem now, but I was painfully shy. So I poo-pooed what I was shown about my number, but it turned out to be true. Number 7, yeah. So number 7 is the number of the mind. So number 7s are thinkers. Always with a number 7, you want to give them the opportunity to think about it before they give you an answer. 7s can also therefore be overthinkers. So this is a challenge for the number 7. Number 7 can easily be round and round and round and round and round and round and round in their head, coming to conclusion and a new conclusion, but never taking any action. They're really good at never taking any action because it's all just round and round and round and round and round and round in here, in the head, which is not good. That's too much. That's too much. Overthinking is when there is all mind and no action. The job of the 7 is to think and then to act. But to think and to plan and to research and to work stuff out mentally. It's a lot of academics are 7s, or scientists, a lot of technicians, that kind of vibe. It's a work things out in the head, not in the heart. It's not a heart vibe really. It's a mind vibe. They can be skeptics. They're not always the biggest fans of this stuff because they will say, "Oh yeah, but where's the science? Where's the evidence for this?" They'll say, because they'll want to know the peer review study and all the detail, and they'll read it all, and then they'll come to conclusions. They want data and facts and evidence and information. And so they should, but they still have to actually make a decision and move forward rather than just spend all their life in their head, which they might.
So ironically, as the author of a book called Mind Calm, with a calm clan which can help people to think less, we have no 7s today here.
Yeah.
And that might be because they're still thinking about whether they're going to join or not.
It could be.
And you're saying, if you're listening to this podcast, considering it, then you've got to take that step. There's help out there for these overthinkers. So make that step, take that action. That's how you're aligning with your number. It's not just a blatant plug, but I'm just using it as an example as to maybe why there's no 7s here today.
It's a private number.
Ah.
It's not a group number.
Ah, so the clan
They're
idea.
private. Yeah, they're private people.
Ah.
They're thinkers. They are they're people who keep the video off. I mean, lots of people keep the video off, and that's okay. But and that's fine. But they don't necessarily want to see, but they don't necessarily want to be seen.
Philosophers?
Yeah, very much scientists. Anything medical, technical,
Interesting.
anything academic in the library.
Kate says one of our sisters is a seven, and she's our family researcher.
Yeah, there you go. Um, Family tree stuff. They love all that kind of thing. Researching, going back in time.
Kimberly says my son is a seven. It didn't walk until he was a year and a half. It was
Yeah.
like he kept thinking about it and then just took off.
Once he'd worked out what to do.
Interesting.
Totally,
Interesting.
totally. Yeah.
Okay, we're on schedule, but we should keep going as well. We got about, I think, by my calculations, four more to go,
Correct. So
or
number
five,
eight.
four or five. So eight.
Eight is a powerful number. It's not a better number than any of the other numbers, but it's a powerful number. So if you're an eight, you you really need to find situations where you can get stuff done and make things happen, where you're not around people who are so sensitive that they're going to burst into tears when you open your mouth. Because when an eight gives instructions, it's the number of the boss. When they give instructions, it's normally quite a force of energy behind them. And this is one of the things that eights sometimes don't realize about themselves. They're speaking in a perfectly ordinary measured tone, but it's received by everybody else as very powerful, very impactful. Okay, so it's a strong energy. It has a strong energy behind it. It's the number of the boss, businessman, businesswoman, property, money, finance, the law, all that kind of stuff. And even if the person is not involved in any of those things, they're normally a strong personality, a strong character. So the important thing, if you are a number eight, truth, honesty, transparency are paramount. You eights hate lying, hate liars. High standards, professionalism. If you are an eight, you have to be able to respect the people that you work for and your partner. Arguably, if you are an eight, if you can't respect your partner, it doesn't matter how much you love them, if you can't respect them, it won't work. Arguably, respect is the biggest thing in an eight's life. If they can't respect the people that they're with, the people that they're working for, they can't form proper relationships with them. It's a high power, take no prisoners, no nonsense, tell me the truth, don't mess me about kind of number.
Wow.
Some people, when they hear this, don't like it. Some particularly interestingly, I do know why this is, but it's just anecdotally interesting. Particularly women, particularly females, when they hear this, who are eights. A lot of female eights don't like the sound of this. They think, oh, that means I'm going to be some kind of, you know, bitch from hell, kind of nightmare kind of woman. And I don't want to be that. I don't mean that. I just mean strong. I just mean take no prisoners. I just mean tell the truth. It's all about telling the truth and not persuading, but like stating it clearly to the point. It's a strong vibe. It's a strong energy.
Is there anything symbolic about the number being written as the infinity symbol?
Yeah. The possibilities are endless. The possibilities are endless for an eight. A lot of eights are extremely successful in the material world. They make a lot of money. They accrue a lot of power in business, law, finance, property. um, because they instinctively know how to get stuff done. They know how to make things happen. If you think about some of the other numbers, we won't go through them all, but a three will not get stuff done. They'll talk about getting stuff done. A one won't necessarily get stuff done. A one will have a great idea, but they won't do it. Twos won't necessarily do it either. If you think about all the numbers, it's the eights that actually make things happen in the material world.
Now, is it fair to say that if one or two or three, whatever you just shared, if they have other numbers, then that can help them get it done? It
Totally,
just sounds quite
yes.
black and white there.
100%.
And so
100%. So, for example, if I'm a three in this number, but actually I'm born on the 17th of a month, I'm not, but imagine, then that's 17, 1 plus 7 is 8. That means I've got a little bit of 8 going on. So I would have a little bit of ability to get things done. As it happens, I don't. So I
Well, you
just
still
talk
seem to
about.
get a lot done, Mr. X
Yeah,
number of
I don't
books,
get I
etc.,
don't get as
etc.
much done as I should, but anyway, never mind.
No. Fantastic. Well, one of the things you have done, I want to mention before we go into number nine, is that you've written a book about this, I believe. Is this the secret language of numbers?
Yes, correct.
So if someone
Yes.
wants to read your book about this, it would be the secret language of numbers
Thank you. Yes, and it's available on my website.
only.
Yes, afraid so.
Okay, so that's good to know. So if some people might look on Amazon or something, you're going to have to buy it from your website, pay the postage from the UK or whatever, and get it to your house that way.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Secret language numbers, if you want more information, or go to Richard's website, Hermitage,
Org.uk.
thehermitage.org.uk. The
Thank you.
Hermitage. All right.
Thehermitage.org.uk.
Thehermitage.org.uk. All right. Or just Google Richard Abbott, and it
Yeah,
normally
it'll come up.
comes up. Okay, Richard, we're almost there. We got number nine, and then what else have we
Nine, and
got?
then 11, and then
And then
22.
22, and then we're done. Okay. 9, 11, 22. So nine.
Right, nine. Very simple. It's the highest single number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, because 10 is 1, right? So 9 is, we're very high level now. 9 is about, very simple, it's about giving. It's not about accumulating or traveling or talking or thinking. It's about giving. 9 is the energy of the person who gives. So if you are a 9, yeah, you might have to define the boundary, but you are here to give, to serve, to help, to look out for other human beings. So it's the energy, it's the number, the healer, the coach, the guide, the mentor, that kind of vibe. But if you are 9, you have to know where to draw the line, because otherwise you will just get the life drained out of you. So 9s have to give, 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 give. Oh, actually, just let's just stop there. Let's not give any more now at the moment until I can fill my own cup back up again. And
Mhm.
then when they fill their own cup back up again, then they give again. Lots of ways to give. Give with money, give with time, give with energy, give with support. Lots of ways to do it, but it is a service number. Satisfaction, if you are a 9, does not come from accumulation and thinking of self. It comes from giving unto others.
To a point.
To a point and knowing where that point is.
So Katia has a 9. She wrote it in the chat box. She's also got a keen interest in numerology.
Great.
Would a 9 be good at numerology?
Yeah,
In
because a
numerology?
9 would be interested in anything that enables them to help other people better.
I see. Okay, wonderful. And so 9 is the number of giving,
It is the number
essentially.
of, yeah, humanity. They're interested in humanity rather than things. And they're interested in giving to humanity, or at least they should be. That's the message that the numbers try to tell them.
So if they're not in a role or whatever that enables them to do that, then they're going to be less satisfied than if they are. And
Correct.
if they can't leave their job, for example, they want to make sure they have a hobby at least where they're able to do that or other things,
Correct.
other ways to give. Okay,
Yes.
wonderful. Great. Moving on to number
11, right? Because 10 is not 10, 10 is 1. So 11 is the first of two special numbers, and then we're done. So 11 and 22. Right, so 11 first. Most 11 people are young. Okay, you don't get many 11s who are over 30 years old. There definitely are some, but there's not many. Most 11s, because of the way that the calendar is, the way that the maths has produced it, most 11s are under 30. A
I
lot
don't
of them
understand. I don't
are under
understand. How
20.
can an 11 can't live over 30?
Well, they can, but if you think back to the calculation that we did at the start, the day of birth plus the month of birth plus the year of birth, yeah, the fact that the year of birth for all of us had a 19 in it to start with, that throws the maths out so that you don't get many answers that come to 11,
I
right?
see.
Whereas if you get calculations which begin with a 20 for 2000, then
Now
you
I
get a
understand.
lot more 11s.
Now I understand. I was just making sure there was no confusion. Like they're all like Kurt Cobain's and that. They never quite make it to 30. I was,
No, 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 no. It's not that. It's just that it's the 2000 thing.
I see. Okay. So I'm glad we got that clear. Okay. So there's not very old. Please
They're not very
continue.
old and they are high vibration. What do I mean by that? I mean that they know innately in their bones, they know spirit and soul and magic and intuition and their consciousness. They know all this. They don't have the words for it, but they know it all innately. What they don't know innately is how to tie their own shoelaces, how to get a job, how to get up in the morning. They don't know those things. In fact, they're not interested in those things. Actually, they're really not. They're interested in a much higher kind of vibe. This makes them inspirational, very, very bright energy, highly spiritual, highly conscious, but in the day-to-days of life, completely useless unless we can show them how to deal with the day-to-day things of life because they're going to need to know them. It's a high energy. It's a high energy, and they're often beautiful people, really. Like amazing, bright shining stars, but they're not plugged in. They're not grounded, really, unless you make them so, unless they've had an upbringing which particularly gives them that. But by nature, they're not really grounded. They're not very grounded. They need to be grounded.
It sounds like a bit indigo.
That is indigo, crystal, star seeds, Age of Aquarius. It's all that vibe. It's all that vibe.
Christina's day of birth plus month equals 11. Does that make, she just wrote that in the chat box.
My day of birth plus my month of birth equals 11 as well. So that means that you've got an 11 tucked away in your chart. Yes, it
Pretty sure
does.
you said I had one at some time. I can't remember. All back. Anyway,
Possibly, yes.
Katya's two daughters are 11. So, Katya, do you relate to them not being able to tie their own shoelaces or have no interest in that sort of stuff? Or their upbringing maybe has been different, but I'm curious. Richard, yeah, Christina says you and her have very similar numbers. Very similar numbers.
Yes, I think I think I remember that. You'll
So
survive this.
11s, not very many of them
No.
under the age of 30-ish, but they're like indigo, they're light, they're ethereal, they're clever. Clever, or is it more intuition and plugged
More
in?
intuitive. I mean, they can be clever. They can be very tuned into high technology. Um, idealistic. Idealistic. It's just it's just whether they're grounded or not.
Cassie says 11, totally my girls. So, do you have any piece of advice on how you can live or work with or help an 11?
Yeah, yeah, okay. So this is a catch-all, and it might not work for everybody, but it has worked a lot. I think one of the most beneficial things that an 11 energy can do is some kind of martial art. Kung Fu, Taekwondo, Judo, Kendo, even the more spiritual things, Tai Chi, Qigong, Karate, any of that, which is so why? Because it's physical, it puts them in the body, but it's spiritual as well. Right? So anything where they can do both of those things together is brilliant. Now, if it's not a martial art, then just straight sports will do it if they're young, because anything that puts them in their body, because they're not really in their body, not really. So, but they've got to become comfortable with being in their body, being okay with being in their body.
Mhm.
Martial arts has been the thing which I've seen to be very valuable for a lot of people who are 11, a lot of youngsters. But
Something
any
else
type
I've
of
seen,
sport,
something else I've seen in a lot of youngsters is their addiction to their mobile phones. So I guess
oh,
it's important to get an 11, especially off their phone, get them
um,
in, doing stuff physical.
Um, well, I mean, I would say that
Everyone should get off their phone.
everybody should get off their phone, really,
Yeah.
but particularly youngsters. Um, 11 is 11's are very sensitive, very sensitive. So they'll get upset, they'll burst into tears at the thought of a stray bird, a stray animal or something. They really would burst into tears at the thought of it. So the internet is is a is not a good place for a sensitive person
Mm. Mhm.
because let's be truthful, it's the you've got to hunt hard on the internet now to stay in positive vibes. I think to stay optimistic. If you're gonna have to really curate your feed if you want to be getting solely optimistic messages because everything is so difficult and dark now. And if an 11 is exposed to that repeatedly, it'll spiral them down.
I hear you.
But the inspirational possibilities, the light that emits that can come from an 11 when they're fully grounded is wonderful.
Mm. Wonderful. And that's why we got to keep the CamCon alive, and we got to keep your Hermitage Hub alive as well.
Yes, yes,
These positive places on the internet.
yes,
If you didn't
yes.
realize, Rich also has an online community called the Hermitage Hub, where he covers all this stuff and more each month. You have a whole numerology course on there. Ours have lots of numerology course. You've got tarot
Hours and
course,
hours and hours and hours of it. Yeah.
so worth it. Definitely worth it. And just to finish that off, Kathia, who has the two uh, 11 daughters, one's into triathlon, one's a gymnast. So there you
That's
go.
excellent. Love to.
Excellent.
That's excellent. Love that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And finally, numero 22.
Numero 22. Right. We could say an enormous amount here. This is a very, very high energy number. Um, this is the number of somebody who can do something big, big. It's about having real impact in the world. Now, define big. It might be something that reaches millions of people, or it might be something that saves one person's life. That's pretty big, but it's impactful. Right? 22 is the number that needs to make an impact of some kind, to do something significant in the world. And it's like they're driven by something. They're driven by a force. 22 people are driven by a force, which is they're not always clear about themselves, but it's driving them. It means that they can't just sit down and chill. They've got something to do. They don't quite know what it is, maybe, but they've got something important that they've got to do.
I find it so hard to just stop and do nothing. Christina's like so good at training me to like relax and stop and like but I have this I wake up in the morning and I have to go. Like it's like
Yes,
a drive. I have to get
yes.
on.
And certainly 22s need to know how to relax and know when to chill and enjoy life. But more importantly, they've got to achieve something. They might not know what it is, but they've got to achieve something. They've got to get something done that's significant. Now, a lot of 22s, because of this drive, they'll end up being very successful in ordinary material things. They do very well financially. They become wealthy. They become build big businesses, politics, fame, because they're driven. They're driven. It can be that, right? But it's it's how the person, it's how each individual soul defines significant impact. Because what's significant impact for one person will not be significant for somebody else. So the 22 has got to dig deep and find out what it is. And the only way they find out what it is by pushing themselves. So 22s often are marathon runner type people. They're people who join the Marines or the SAS or that kind of stuff. You know that Ant Middleton guy, the SAS Who Dares Wins guy. He's a 22. It's all that kind of energy, and it's we've got to look past the testosterone of it. It's the pushing boundaries. It's the finding out what you can do. That's the vibe of 22. What are your limits? Because actually they're way further out than you think. But you've got to find where they are. As a 22, you've got to find out where they are. Most 22s don't get this done until they are 45 or 50 or plus, more than that even. Very rarely does a 22 get this nailed in their 20s or 30s. It normally takes their 40s or 50s or beyond to have the impact that they want to have, to work out what it is that they want to be doing. But it normally takes that long. But the point is, they've got to push their limits and keep pushing their limits because they can achieve much, much more than others can. 22s have an extra gear in the car. The rest of us have got 5 gears or 6 gears, but a 22 has got an extra gear that they can engage and it sends them further ahead, broader perspective, wisdom. It's an old soul kind of energy. So 22s just know stuff. They don't know how they know it, they just know it. Wisdom, impact in the world, doing things in a big way, restless, all that good stuff.
Yep, that sounds a bit like me. I sometimes feel like a fraud because I've probably written more books than I've read, but it's because of what you say there. I just know like certain things,
Yes.
and that's turned into the techniques in the books and the therapy and stuff like that. But I got to say, when you told me this in my 20s, because that's when you first told me this, I think I was in my 20s.
Yes. It's been some time now.
It's been a blessing and a curse.
Yeah. Sorry about that. But it was always true, whether I'd have said it or not.
But it's an
It was
interesting
always
number
true.
to have because it's like there's this push, but it's never enough, right? Because it's all because the potential for more is there, if that makes any sense.
100%. The limits are much further out than they are for others, and they're much further out than you think they are. Um, it's about finding that extra gear. And it's not about necessarily making lots of money. I mean, it can be for some 22s, but it's not about that. It's not about fame. It can be. It's about significant impact, whatever that is for the 22, making significant impact, transforming the lives of the people that you meet, not just changing them in the moment, but transforming the
Mm.
lives of the people that you meet. And, you know, you have done that. You
Well,
are doing that.
I'm glad you said about 40s and 50s and beyond because I feel I'm just getting started.
Well, this is what I would expect. Most 22s would say that. I was talking to somebody earlier on. Um, she's a 22. She's just turned 40. She's packed up her life and career, and she's got a backpack on, and she's off to the airport to go to Australia. Right? Everybody thinks she's crazy, but she's got to find her thing, and she's got to push the boundaries. She can't not. She can't not do it.
Kate
So
says
40s, 50s, 60s,
60s.
70s,
Yeah. Just answering Kate. Yeah.
getting older. Age for the 22 is not the enemy that it is perhaps for some of the rest of us. Because age brings wisdom, and age brings maturity and experience, and somehow you can have better impact, bigger impact when you're older as a 22 than you do when you're younger.
Okay, great. Thank you, Richard Abbot, numerologist expert, plus, plus, plus. Gold star tonight. It's been amazing. I've loved it. I think it's been one of my top meetings of for a long time. I loved today. I hope you guys listening in have enjoyed it as well. It's been a really great vibe. You've shared amazing stuff. So clear. And we're going to be bringing it to a close. If it's okay, if we just stay online just for a bit, just to see if there are any questions, but that'll be for off air. Richard, is there anything you want to make sure you've said in an introduction to numerology?
Everybody is unique, so we're not trying to categorize people. Everybody is many, many energies and many, many numbers and many, many wonderful possibilities, and you can be whoever you want to be and do whatever you want to do. But these numbers are trying to help you. They're not trying to define you and box you in. They're trying to help you. They're trying to give you a message. And that's what I've been trying to describe here.
Beautiful. Beautiful way of putting it. What I want to add to share as we close this is that it's in the world of spirituality, we're often the term know thyself is often thrown around. And sometimes in spirituality, that can become very narrow. And in some circumstances, it can boil down to like an experience. You know yourself if you are stillness or silence or presence or beingness or that sort of stuff. And I taught that for a number of years, and I've retracted it because what I've seen is that know thyself is multifaceted on all levels. And if we just try to find ourselves or know ourselves in the stillness or the silence or the peace or whatever, it's a very narrow bandwidth from which to live our life. And there's many ways we can get to know who we are and what we are during this lifetime. And this is why I wanted Richard to be here today, and I wanted us to explore numerology, for example, because it's one of the many ways that we can get to know ourselves. And it's undeniable. And because it's so undeniable that we all could probably relate to things that Richard was saying tonight with people that we know or ourselves, that there's truth in there. It doesn't need to be believed in for it to be true. And so again, it's another truth, or a way back to truth amidst all the other stuff that we have to deal with on a daily basis. So thank you, Richard, for helping us to get to know ourselves better.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Nice to be with you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, perfect. If you want to hear more from Richard, join his Hermitage Hub, read The Secret Language of Numbers, or why not treat yourself to a private one-on-one consultation. Thanks, Richard.
Thank
Bye
you.
for now. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining me for today's episode. Please like, subscribe, and write a review wherever you happen to be listening. It really does help to support me and this podcast. For more information about my one-to-one sessions, Calm Clan community, books, and academy courses, head over now to minddetox.com.